Paul, we're back. How was your Sky weekend?
Yeah, I had a really good weekend. I think I was pretty happy with my choices. I was deliberating for a while on Friday night on whether to do that Rashford to a Wolves player for the effective 4-0. And after talking about it on the pod last week, I didn't want to come across as a hypocrite, so I did refrain from doing it as suggested. And then I made what I would assume most think is a controversial transfer on Saturday, which paid off. And yeah, I just like I'm still dodging those high effective ownership bullets. Salah when he hit the underside of the bar on Saturday night. Um, Nobody really returning any points outside of Sarabia on Friday night. De Bruyne not turning up for City. Yeah, so like really happy with how things have went up to fifth overall now.
Fifth overall, mate. Unbelievable. And your second team is about 14th or 13th, I think, as well. So
Yeah.
good work there. Yeah, I made a couple of tracks. So I was thinking about it all week. Like you have these decisions that you just know you will not make a final decision until like an hour before because of various things. But I was really in the same camp with you with Neves, but I think I'm starting to think even now in the season, every transfer is really important. And I didn't fancy anyone from Wolves to, there's no standout option. It's not like Podence has played the last 490s and has got 3 goals in 4. Even something like that, I may have been tempted, but yeah, so I skipped that as well. But I did move. I made a double move on Saturday. Over the weekend, a bit unplanned actually, because, but it was Ake's performance which made me make the second move. Is that even when he's on the pitch and starting, when I think of Man City, I think of minimum of 5 pointers, should be 10 pointers, and that's why I got Ake, and and the same for Akanji. But with Ake, he's just holed away at left back, doesn't see a lot of the ball, and you don't even know if he's going to start. And I think he probably only started on the weekend because Laporte was ill, so I thoroughly expect Laporte to come back and Ake to switch back to the bench and play in the Champions League, for example. So I took Ake out for Enzo on Sunday, which looks a decent move. And I think those who went with Thiago have been very unfortunate, because that I was also contemplating that exact move. And the only reason I went with Enzo is it was a formation thing, but also just a budgetary thing, because with the players like Polinia and stuff, I like that 7.7 sort of spot there. Will hopefully just sit there for the rest of the season and leave open some
Yeah.
funds. So those with silver have been very, very unfortunate. Good evening to everyone in the chat. Walker91 is in. Shane White says, I hear you giving someone else credit for winning Sky World Cup. I did. I apologise. I got a couple of names mixed up. I see your name, Shane, and Darren Slater, and so many other people just all over my mini leagues everywhere. I did get a bit mixed up. Apologies there, Shane. Johnny White, how has everyone's week been? I bought in silver this weekend. Yeah, that is really tough going, and another bullet that Paul managed to dodge. Julia Wardle is in. John Acornley asks, time to get rid of any remaining City defenders. I personally have. I think you hold Edison. You can maybe hold, but yeah, I think Raya, who we'll talk about a bit, I'm sure in a bit, is going to be incredibly popular next week. Sandy Taylor, Ben McCrum, Matt Williamson, Darren Phillips also brought in silver. Graham Craig, Brownie Scarf F, Matt, FPL Sparta, Nick Stevens, Gary Plant, and so much more. Amandeep says, being able to catch this live, haven't done so for a long time. And Glenn Murray, did I just have an acid flashback, or did the green arrow pop up there? It did. I pressed the wrong button. Unsurprisingly, I pressed the wrong button. So apologies for everyone. Connor is in, and Aaron, John Maloney as well. Great to have you all with us. Paul, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so I'll talk about my transfer at the weekend and what my decision making process was for it. Have a look at the fixtures through to the end of the season. I've been monitoring players in and around me in the top 10. Also have a look at who everyone's got playing midweek. Talk a bit about the captaincy midweek, and then just do our usual updates on leagues and fixtures, upcoming fixtures for the week.
So we have the wonderful planner from FF Staff up at the moment, and How is the landscape looking, Paul, until the international break?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this when I made my move. So I've got a lot of Arsenal interest already, and I was looking at hop off points, and we've done this before. We looked on a hop on point for Arsenal, and I was looking at my hop off point. Their fixtures are pretty tough towards the end of the season, but they've got a nice run through. They play in Gameweek 33, which we're going to talk about as well. I missed off the agenda there. And so I looked at the stats of all the teams Arsenal were playing. The 4 games included, like the next 4 games, including the Leicester game there, was against the 4 teams in the league with the worst XGC.
Yeah.
So obviously good for attacking fixtures. On top of that, they also have in that run Crystal Palace, who haven't been particularly great recently, and Leeds at home on the Saturday after the international break. Before then, there's 2 for 0 opportunities, and Arsenal's fixtures stiffen anyway. So I thought I'd roll the dice, play like the stock market is, and when there's dips, you buy. So everyone getting rid of Martinelli, I thought that was a good opportunity to invest in Martinelli.
It's the most un-Paul-like move I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I weighed up all the options, and I looked. He was only at 12% ownership. He was starting there with Trossard. I thought if they win, that's probably the way they're going to line up now. Maybe for the next few games, and Ketia probably finds himself on the bench, who I do own as well, so that's frustrating. But I did think that there'd be chances there. I had a look. I was out pushing the pram one hand, looking through FF stuff, previous fixtures for Leicester, seeing how many chances they were conceding, and they were still conceding a lot of shots on target. So yeah, I made that move, and thankfully it paid off. I felt like I was almost had banked the transfer from not doing the one on the Friday, and knowing that it wasn't a short term. Oh, I'm going to bring him in and then take him back out again. I'll hold him until that Leeds game, and then can almost transition to what my team wants to look like for this season. Perhaps Bruno or something like that for him at that time, if I can save some cash to do that.
Nice, yeah. And Arsenal's next 2, obviously they're home to Everton midweek, which should be a decent fixture, and an even better one on Saturday, home to Bournemouth. After that, they do have a bit of a break, and a lot of teams have 2 for 1s, 3 for 1s, even 4 for 1s over Arsenal. And that Arsenal game is away to Fulham, which is a tough one, but they definitely do play in Sky Game Week 33, home to Palace, and straight after on the Saturday against Leeds. So it's going to be interesting to see how many how many players we jump off. I think I'm contemplating jumping off 1 or 2, because obviously the Brentford run comes into play, potentially Brighton as well. I know there's a lot will depend on FA Cup results next week. So while we're on that, let's just touch on that, because it's probably something that, unless you play FPL, and engage in FPL, you may not even realise that there's a very high opportunity that a lot of games could be called off in a couple of weeks' time. So the Southampton and Spurs match has got a nearly 97% chance of blanking. So Southampton are homes to Grimsby, which you'd expect them to win in the FA Cup. And Spurs, I think they're away to Sheffield United, which they should win. It'll be a tough game, but if either of those teams win, that game will be off. So looking at that Spurs-Southampton game in there, that means I'm just going to flick back quickly to the fixture planner. But after Saturday, the 11th of March, when Spurs have a nice plum home game against Forest, they very probably won't play then until Monday, the 3rd of April. And there are a host of teams that have got 3 fixtures in that period. So that's a really important one to kind of look at as a very, potential profitable fixture to jump off Kane after that Forest game and then jump back on him on Monday the 3rd. Man City and West Ham. So Man City have got Bristol City, West Ham got Man United. There's a 95% chance of that one being canned as well. So just looking at how that affects the fixtures as well, it means that after Saturday 11th of March, when Man City are away to Palace, they won't then play again. They'll be home to Liverpool on the first Saturday back. And again, there's a few teams that will play 2 or even 3 times in that period. So that's a second big one for those, who are potentially looking to come off Man City assets. And Brighton and Man United as well will likely be a blank as well. Brighton have got Stoke, and United have got West Ham. And then there's the potential for Brentford and Leicester to be called off, which is massively important for players who are looking to potentially jump on Raya or Tony next week. Liverpool and Fulham and Wolves and Leeds is quite a big one. This is one game. So Fulham play Leeds next Tuesday, because if Fulham beat Leeds
tomorrow,
if Fulham beat Leeds, it means that Salah, who is going to be very popular over this next week, will not play after Saturday the 11th of March until Saturday the 1st of April. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense there. But positive news for players who've got Arsenal players. Their game with Palace definitely goes ahead. One of the reasons I got Enzo in yesterday is because Chelsea definitely have a fixture against Everton, for example. So they have got they had a definite 4 fixtures until the break. Newcastle against Forest, so Newcastle defenders could become popular again soon. And Ollie Watkins, what did we say, Paul? As soon as we took him out, he's going to score every game, and it's what he's done. And he'll definitely have a game against Bournemouth as well. So hopefully that just helps paint the picture of what might happen. I suppose in summary there, it means that after next Wednesday, all will become clear, and it's just worth bearing that in mind when making transfers. So.
It's this Wednesday. It's tomorrow.
It is this Wednesday. Oh, of course. Sorry, mate. It's the FA Cup this week. So we'll know by Thursday this week how that landscape looks for the rest of the break. I suppose just to touch quickly after we come back from the break, that Spurs game against Everton, where you'd expect Kane would be a really good captaincy option, isn't until the Monday. So that's probably a big one, which with a 96% chance of blanking or even higher, that you could look to come off there. So yeah, really interesting stuff there. What's your take, Paul, in terms of what this means for, because neither of us have Salah, for example, right? And
thankfully the Fulham Leeds game's on the Tuesday night, so if that was going to factor into a decision, I'm not getting this is the most nervous I've been about any Sky game day in a long time. And I have managed to dodge high effective ownership billets, but that's on players that probably wouldn't be captained, because Haaland played on the same day and he was getting captained. Man City seemed to play on the same day as Liverpool quite a lot, so I was never overly worried. Or Kane had a standout fixture, was captain him there. So find out on Tuesday if the Spurs game goes ahead and the Liverpool game doesn't. Is there an opportunity there to switch Kane to Salah for me? Perhaps. And Kane does have a fixture against Nottingham Forest at home on a Saturday that looks like it could be pretty decent coming up for him. I'm still thinking about if that happens, what would I do? So find out on Wednesday. At present, I won't be making any moves, and definite opportunities. I think that regardless, I'd be taking Kane out after the Nottingham Forest game. You've said, that there's teams that have got 3. One team's even got 4 for nothing over them over that time period as well. It'd probably be a daisy chain move on to a player that I want longer term, and then move a player out, like maybe one of the Arsenal players on Gameweek 35 after the international break, perhaps Odegaard, who's been very underwhelming anyway, but I don't like Arsenal's fixtures towards the end of the season, but I will likely hold Zinchenko right through and Saka right through. So some of the other players on the outskirts, I'll possibly move on.
I think this was part of the thinking for me when I moved really heavily on Arsenal a few weeks ago, and I done the same in Telegraph. It's not just the short-term fixtures and everything else. It's the fact that they're so affordable. They don't blank in any of the blank weeks. Yeah. And they're fantastic options, and they're nailed or kind of mostly nailed, right? Obviously Nketiah and maybe White and stuff are not, but it allows you to almost pick and choose who you want. Because Odegaard a few weeks ago looked like an essential player, whereas recently I think he's had 1 assist in his last 5, right? He could be the fall guy, whereas you wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago. You can hold on to Saka. You'd probably hold on to Martinelli, for example, and things. And there were concerns with Zinchenko with his expected minutes, where it looks like now that he probably is. He's a really, really integral part of that team, unless he gets injured, right? So yeah, and
you think of talisman as well. Like, I'd never captain Odegaard over Saka, so
yeah,
retaining the talisman for captaincy in those situations as well.
We've had a few questions around Rodri, and because he is, I say he's expensive. He's worth the value. But when you're trying to look at maybe squeezing in Salah alongside Haaland and Kane and things, is Rodri a potential fall guy this week?
I think so. Like this isn't a move for everyone, right? And I totally get that, and I understand the concept of keeping a transfer back and then just letting him sit in there. I was willing to do that with Paulinho for a long period of time. I only took him out because when he started racking up the bookings. But after this Saturday, City will play Crystal Palace on 11th of March. Then they won't have a game in game week 33. Game week 34, they play against Liverpool. Now, I know that you don't have Rodri for attacking front anyway, but they don't double in that week, whereas a lot of teams double. So you're racking up the fixtures on some daisy chain moves that are happening in the background. And then the following week, they play on the Sunday, and there's only 2 games on the Sunday, so 16 teams play on the Saturday. So for me, that's a prime opportunity to daisy chain. You miss 2 games from Rodri over that time period. It doesn't really matter who the games are because Rodri will probably get passing against every team anyway. But to miss 2 games, some teams will have 6, 7 games over that time period. Perhaps there's a captaincy, and then that allows you to move out a player that you don't want and get in a player that you do want as part of that daisy chain along the route as well. So I don't hate it at all. I think it's it's something that I'm looking at. I'm not fixed to a strategy or fixed to a transfer plan yet, but definitely something I'm considering.
Okay, and just a word on Salah, I suppose. I haven't checked his ownership. Was he about 65% owned in the top 1K?
Something like that.
Roughly, but yeah, we had a very brief text conversation last night, didn't we, around Salah and stuff, because I haven't got him either. I can't get to him easily. The only way I can get to him is to basically take out Rodri and Odegaard, and Odegaard will play the same night as Salah against Everton, to go back to Rashford and to get Salah for the Wolves game, or go straight from Kane, who has got that home game against Forest. Like, look what West Ham did to Forest on the weekend. I think he's potentially even captaincy material ahead of Haaland, potentially that day. I don't know, but even if he gets, a couple of returns, it's a big, 14-pointer or whatever it is. So at the moment, I'm not. And I also look at the fixtures and I think home to Wolves. So Wolves beat Liverpool 3-0 very convincingly, very comfortably, a few weeks ago, actually, wasn't it? And Wolves look reasonably solid, right? They're not a pushover, not conceding loads of goals. And there are reasonable alternatives, as well as the fact that Salah's only scored, I think it's 8 goals in 22 games or something this season. I can't remember the last time he got like a double return, as in, a couple of goals. And you've also got Saka at home to Everton or something like that. And I also think the Man United game, which is the second game on Sunday, are you going to captain Salah against United, or are you going to captain Rashford? It's going to be Rashford, I would guess. He is on fire against a really ragged Liverpool defence. So I think with those things in mind, I'm tempted not to do it. And you're not going to captain Salah the next game away to Bournemouth either, because Kane's got Forest and Haaland plays on that day. So they're the things I'm currently thinking about. I see it would be, for me, forcing it, and I wouldn't be surprised if like Rodri and Odegaard or Kane outscored Salah in that same period, and all I've done is waste 2 transfers, and then I want to get rid of him again anyway. So that's the kind of rationale which I was thinking about.
So my counter argument, I don't disagree with everything you said, but my counter argument of why I think it might be an option for me if that Fulham game doesn't get cancelled in game week 33, is that by the time Kane plays 2 games, Liverpool play 5. They also have an extra game right after, on that first week after international break. I think as part of the restructure and taking my Arsenal players out, that I could be restructuring with one perhaps placeholder, maybe Matoma or something like that. That's a little bit cheaper. That then allows me the formation to get both Kane and Salah. And so when I'm bringing Kane back in on Monday the 3rd of April, it wouldn't be at Salah's expense. That would perhaps be at somebody else's expense as part of a reshuffle at that point. So those are all the things I'm considering as part of it. Is this, if you ask me right now, what am I doing, knowing what I know? I'm not making the move though. But if the game goes ahead on game week 33, I'm thinking that's kind of meeting me more in the middle and definitely something to consider.
I think so. I've just had a quick look at the fixtures and the counter argument back to that, and it is a very, very valid argument. But as we know, I think we've learned from the COVID period around making decisions too far ahead of time and trying to look at weeks and weeks in advance.
I think this is different. I think this is different in this instance because I'm not picking a captain for a single game day 3 or 4 weeks in advance, and I think that's where kind of got stung a little bit in that COVID period. Whereas we have played the volume of fixtures in the way that we've played Arsenal.
Okay, so my argument would be then is to hold Kane. We don't know for sure that Salah plays against Bournemouth if that game is on, right? If it is on, we don't know if he plays or not, right? And we don't. If he does play that game, you can go Kane to Salah for a 2-for-0. So, a 3-for-0 with the captaincy. Home to Fulham as captain if we wanted him. They also get away to Man City, which may or may not be profitable, right? The next day, then you can hop back onto Kane, who has the Everton captaincy, home to Brighton, home to Bournemouth, in which period that's Liverpool play away to Chelsea and home to Arsenal. So I personally think you can hop on the Fulham game if you want, rather than go a bit too early. Personally, I think that's the route I would go if that game was on.
So I feel that I'll end up just wasting transfers on one to the other back to one if I don't restructure after the international break to get them both in.
That's fair.
But that's maybe it's a different argument because you could do that regardless if you follow your pattern or not. I'm sounding like I'm definitely going the other way, and I'm not. I am more in the I'm not going Salah. In fact, the fact that I've looked at his odds for 2 or more goals on Wednesday and lined that up suggests that I'm laying my risk elsewhere.
Really good chat, good stuff here, and like you say, after Wednesday we will know a lot more, and we can, these next few weeks do give us a massive opportunity, as you say, to restructure a little bit, don't it? Especially with players like Raya come into the frame, which will save people $1 million or more, and Brighton potentially players like Dunk and maybe Mitoma or McAllister has suddenly got this new role, 7.4 million. There's all these players which we can hop onto to get these gains. Just a quick look at the transfers remaining. So Paul, you're very much impacting these numbers now. So the top 10 has gone down 0.1, so 14.9 to 14.8 this week. The top 100 went down from 14.5 to 14.2. The top 1,000 went down from 16.5 to 15.7, and the top 5,000 went down from 17.3 to 16.5. So they've all gone down, and I would guess that there would be quite a couple of transfers used this weekend as well. I could probably knock a whole one off all them.
Yeah, so I can't monitor the whole top 100, but I can monitor the whole top 10. And I've got more than 20, so I do bring up the average a bit. I was looking at what players scored in the top 10 on Friday night out of interest, and the biggest surprise to me, everybody had a captain apart from me, and somebody came into the top 10 with a hefty score, which made me think they took a punt on Sarabia and captained them. But what the most interesting thing for me is that only 2 people out of everyone that captained someone scored 2 points. Therefore, captaining Palhinha to double his 1 to 2. And look, managers up there might have held a Fulham and Wolves asset already, but I'm guessing that most, if not all of them, didn't, and brought in and used a transfer. And Fulham and Wolves players aren't players that you're going to want to hold long term either. So not only do you use a transfer bringing one in, but you're going to use another one moving them out. So I expect the top 10 transfer average to be significantly reduced again next week. I could be wrong, but I think that'll come down considerably.
We touched on this last week, and we've observed it again this week. It's interesting because our teams, they're not the same. I think we've got like maybe 8 or 9 the same, but you had Edison, I had Ake, and you got Martinelli, I've got whoever I've got. But the impact that points are having in the top 10 compared to top 100 is quite remarkable, because I think we both had really good weeks last week. You flew up and I barely moved, and even this week now. So I brought in Enzo on Sunday. It's not a haul. Like 5 points isn't a haul, but I still expected a rise just off that, because I just thought his 5 points probably Silver had blanked. I had Kane as captain, the same as everyone else, or kind of 90% of the game. I thought that 5 points could be a bit of a difference maker, and I did not move rank, which really surprised me. Whereas for you said the top 10 didn't move, did it?
No, the top 10. I don't think that anybody in the top. I could be wrong. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not mapping everybody's transfer moves in the top 10 or anything like that. It was just a general feeling to make myself feel better about using transfers or not using transfers, probably. But I think everyone in the top 10, Captain Kane, apart from one person that I don't think owns Kane, and yet nobody had Fernandes. Where he's only 21% owned in the top 1,000 this morning as well, which must be all around you.
Literally all around my whole rank, yeah. in between 12th and 50th or something. But yeah, it's crazy.
But regardless, I've never been one to really care too much about rank at this point. Anyway, yeah, it's good to be higher up, but in terms of moving 2 places or anything, I'm not too interested, because you'll just have that block shift, whereas it'll open up a 5-point gap at the tail, or close a 5-point gap ahead of you. So yeah, I wouldn't be too disheartened by that. Interestingly, on the transfers remaining as well, thinking ahead to Wednesday's fixtures. So we've got those 2 extra games that are in: Liverpool against Wolves and Arsenal at home to Everton. Do you want to take a stab at top 1K? What the average number of players people have got on Wednesday?
Across all the games.
Across the 4 games. So
yeah.
The ownership of Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton, and Wolves players in the top 1,000.
I guess,
like as a number.
I guess the average for Arsenal is probably about in between 4 and 5. I think Wolves probably about half on average, because a lot of people move for Neves, didn't they? Liverpool obviously 60% for Salah, so Neves and Salah probably evens out to 1.6. I don't think as many with Everton. Maybe 6.5.
4.81.
Wow, I'm very surprised at that.
So this was as at last night, so I didn't redo it again this morning. But Arsenal 3.49, Liverpool 1.01, Everton 0.11, and Wolves 0.20. So 4.81. So I think you've got like 7-ish players or something like that. So again, even without Salah, as long as you avoid a haul and get some points trickling in from elsewhere, then
it's not even avoiding the haul. It's making sure that my captain just almost matches, right? Because if I go for Saka, it doesn't matter, does it? So if they match each other, it could actually be an opportunity without Salah. If you these are famous last words, right? I just can't see Salah hauling against Wolves, and I know this will be clipped in a couple of days' time, and it'll be played everywhere, and people are going ha ha, and I'll be on that images that precede unfortunate events and all this jazz, right? But a goal for me is not hauling if my captain at least does it. If he gets like a 5-pointer, if Saka gets 5 points for tackles, say. Sorry, go on.
Fergi, game theory. What's the right now? Where's the point of acceptance on what Salah returns without owning him on Wednesday night?
I think 1 goal, and I would hope
8 points, 10 points.
I think
without knowing what Saka gets. Like,
yeah, but I do think that's an important part of the decision as to whether I go with him or not. Because if I think 5...
No, I'm not saying Saka scores 0. I'm saying the unknown is what Saka, like, it's an unknown what Saka scores.
I think 6 points above my captain. Anything above that, I'd be a bit. But a goal I'd be happy with, or an assist. When he starts to brace, is the time to think that people have made games.
13-2 if you need an offset.
13-2. Are you banging 20 quid on the old 13-2? Yeah, interesting, interesting stuff again around. I'm very surprised it's only 4.8. I'd be interested as well though. Might speak to FF staff and see if he can maybe do a top 100 sort of, similar similar things on the kind of the effective ownership and bits and pieces maybe, because
I think the difficulty in that is that you can't track people outside the top 100 throughout the season because the leaderboard on the Sky app only shows you the top 100.
Okay.
And the figure and the way that it's that he does it is that it shows you the effective ownership of the top 1K at player level, and he can roll it up real easily.
I think as well, when using a transfer on something like Salah, for example, I do think, because if I go for Salah, I'll be taking out either Kane, who 100% I'm going to want him back, right? Like 100% for that Forest game, or definitely Everton, the one after. Unless I work out a way to get Salah in to keep him, which I can't at the moment. And I just think with all those factors in mind, even if he does get a break, I know, like, it won't be ideal, right? I'll be sick if I go down from 30 to like 100th or something, right? But I still think there's better opportunity to use those transfers a bit later down the line. But, getting in something like, because it's a couple of transfers, so being able to move on to Dunk and Tony using my 23rd and 24th transfer, whereas others are using their 14th and 15th transfer to make those exact moves. I still don't think it's the end of the world. And as we know from previous winners, right, everyone makes mistakes, everyone misses hauls, everyone does. So it's not the end of the universe. I think there's a really good argument to skip.
I'm thinking now, I've got my two teams are exactly the same.
You're thinking
and based on this conversation, and I think I'm going to make that move in the second.
Diversify. Good show.
I just can't be bothered administering two teams or thinking about it like the Matrix before.
I think that now is the time for you to do it. Like, both practically in the top 10, right? You can afford to diversify, and if one doesn't work, I mean, it'll work anyway.
I'm not even convinced I'll captain him. I'm not even convinced I'll captain him.
If you're not, then there's your answer, right?
Well, I'm halving my risk.
Let's have a look at the coming game week. 3 game days. Do you know what? I haven't actually flipping heck. I haven't even done the games on Wednesday. So let's first have a quick look at the games coming up on Wednesday. Liverpool home to Wolves, Arsenal home to Everton. So you said that the EO is about, well, it's not roughly, it is at the moment 4.81. It could increase to maybe 5 or so on the thing. Best captaincy, if you were thinking completely objectively, no?
Salah.
Frick. Well, really? Why?
Yeah,
why do you say Salah, apart from that you're scared of him? Do you honestly think he's going to score the most points on Wednesday? Honestly,
he's shorter odds than Saka to score first.
Well, even better than like a clean sheet against Everton.
Arsenal are shorter odds to win and to score multiple goals. But if I brought Salah in, I wouldn't even captain him, and that's honest truth. And the reason for that being is that I can't be net down from the transfer in for that reason, and I am down, like. So you think I'm not contradicting what I've just said, like what I said before about potentially bringing him in. I wouldn't captain. If I owned them both just now, I think I'd captain Salah. But if I brought Salah in for my own sanity, I think I'd keep the captaincy on Saka and then have Salah to partner him.
So we touched on Rodri earlier. So you do think if people can, for example, get from Rodri to Salah, that you think it would be a good move?
I think I would do that if I could do that in one move. Would you?
I think so. I wouldn't. I'm 0.1 short of being able to do it in one move. I have to move Odegaard prematurely back to Rashford to enable that move, which is the reason I'm not doing it. But I think
two Arsenal fixtures. Yeah,
exactly. It's mad. That's madness. That's the kind of thing I would have done a couple of years ago, and I would be kicking myself at the backside all weekend then when Odegaard goes and hauls in both. I think if I could do Rodri to Salah, I think I would. I don't really think Salah's going to score a lot of goals or score many points, but it's a coverage pick against a limited Rodri upside, I think.
Yeah, I feel massively exposed by not having him. and the fact that I can't and I know that he'll be captained. I put a captaincy poll out last night, got 300-400 votes on it, and in fact I've got it right in front of me. So the outcome of it was Saka 44%, Salah 42%, and other 13%. So
Wow.
the way that I do polls, I know that there's a tendency to vote for the first option in a poll without seeing it properly. So I purposely put Salah first on it in the hope that Saka would get more votes as being the second, and it did. So,
well, that just nails it then. Glenn in the chat just asked, if you're on the other side of the fence, would you do Rodri to Saka? That's an interesting question.
I think I would as well.
Yeah, I would as well. I think I would. So Saturday, 4th of March, you get to see the Man City lineup for a change, which you haven't seen for a few weeks. Ake and Akanji owners will be hoping they start against Newcastle. Wolves against Spurs, Chelsea, Leeds, Brighton, West Ham, Villa, Palace, Arsenal, Bournemouth, and then Southampton, Leicester, the 5:30. Captain on Haaland, if he plays, bit of a no-brainer there, I think.
Yeah, Newcastle haven't looked particularly great defensively, although Pope is back. But yeah, Haaland isn't that. That's one risk I won't be.
If Haaland doesn't start, which we will see, which is the beauty of the early kickoff.
Captain
Saka home to, but yeah, I was looking at Spurs against Wolves, but I think that'll be a hard match for Spurs. So yeah, Saka against Bournemouth. I think I agree there. Sunday the 5th, gets the alliance of Forest and Everton, and it's Liverpool and Man United. And this is what I mean. I think it's got to be Rashford all over. Right? He is absolutely on fire, and he'll definitely play that game.
Yep.
Monday the 6th. So this is where things get interesting, because this is where we start to I feel over the last few weeks it's been like a transition period of transitioning to Arsenal players and United players in and out. But Brentford and Brighton all of a sudden, especially Brentford. So Brentford are home to Fulham next week. Although I would add, I think that Fulham game is going to be a hard game for Brentford. They've really improved Fulham, defensively and as a team. So I don't think it's going to be a walkover by any stretch. But Brentford,
does that make it a good defensive fixture then, though?
Potentially, because if Fulham are again without Mitrovic,
although he is in the squad for tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. So Brentford go home to Fulham in this game. They're then away to Everton the following Saturday, away to Southampton the following Wednesday. These are definite games. And then they have the potential to be home to Leicester. So, 4 pretty good fixtures there on the bounce. And that's in the time that Man City, for example, only play Crystal Palace away once. And I think that's the most obvious one. There's a massive 4 for 1 there, 5 for 1 with the captaincy.
And a 6-7 for 2 if you consider the first game after the international break, because City play Liverpool and Brentford have got 2 games then as well.
They have, and also Arsenal is the other one. So Brentford have a 4 for 1 over Arsenal, again a 5 win during this period, because Arsenal play the previous Saturday and then the following Sunday they only play Fulham away in between, where Brentford will have these 4 games. So I'm definitely looking at, I've got Ramsdale, and I think I'll be doing Ramsdale to Raya, which will also release a bit of cash as well. And I'm considering a double. I know we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and Nketiah to Tony is definitely on my mind as well there. A nice double up there for those fixtures. Brentford look pretty good. Raya's a beast in goals. Tony's a beast up front. What's not to like, really? What's your thinking on this?
Pretty similar, although I'll definitely be captain in Raya for Brentford's games over Tony.
Okay.
And then be happy to pick up whatever points I get from Tony outside of that. I
think I'll probably go with the own. I'll look at the ownership in terms of captaincy, but yeah, I thoroughly expect, right?
Yeah, I'll do a poll next Sunday night, because you're not going to know what the
that's right.
ownership is, because I'll be doing the transfers on the Monday. But we'll have the pod then, and I'll be able to declare the results of the poll on the pod.
But between Ramsdale and Edison owners, that's a massively easy, straightforward, obvious 4 to 1 there, right? So expecting to be mega popular.
It's unfortunate the way that these fixtures have fallen for people that are trying to gain rank, and perhaps they're not at the rank that they want to be at. Like, it suits it suits people that have had a good start, because you know that they both are going to be really, really popular moves, and particularly the Real one.
Yeah, agree. Few questions. Thank you so much for everyone who sent in the questions. Let's have a quick look. Aman Tatler has still got Ake and Akanji best replacements after Saturday, and he asks about Haaland to Tony on Monday. I personally, I don't think I'll be taking Haaland out unless he's, we don't play, he can just destroy your rank in an instant. But best Ake and Akanji replacements.
Dunk. Any of the Arsenal. I still don't even think it's too late to go on an Arsenal. Like knowing that you've got like the daisy chain perfect hop off on the Monday after the international break. I don't. But Zinchenko, I'd argue Zinchenko's the best defender in the game at present. It's certainly at his price point. I don't know that I wouldn't be looking at any Arsenal, like the three Arsenal, maybe even White in addition to that, but particularly Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, probably in the order of Zinchenko, Saliba, Gabriel, in that order.
I think, yeah, just on a quick look, I think, you can move one onto Tony on the Monday night, if your formation allows. And other than that, like Liverpool have got a few games. I can't really get excited for that. Brighton, as you say. Yeah, nothing much to add there, really. Dan Cox, after watching Jake Paul and Tommy Fury last night, would either of you consider fighting a fellow fantasy YouTuber?
Right, so I thought about this in great detail. Right, so I don't dislike any content creators or YouTubers. I think that based on you and I's relationship, and that we're very much social club kind of grown up, like very competitive nature when we do the Nip and a Half podcast and stuff like that. If we were doing something, it would be me versus you, but knowing that both of us would take it very seriously for that that kudos, like pub style kudos.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're quite like similar builds. We were both quite tall, 6'1" You're a bit leaner than I am, but that means I got a bit more weight. So I think it'd be a good fight. Not that I'm suggesting for 1 minute, Paul, that we had this on to our end of season. Can you imagine that finish up?
It would be like the keto diet's all over. It'd be like,
Can you imagine finishing up? We have a game of darts, we have a game of pool, and then we just have a scrap in the back lane just to finish it off. And once we finish, we get out the pen and paper with our bloodied fingers and write the score down for how many seconds it took for whoever to get whoever down. But yeah, it's good stuff. Other than that, I think thinking of the Sky ones in particular, I think all of them are quite. I don't think there's any of them I would go, yeah, I'm all over them. I think James probably packs a punch. I don't think Sudge is a slouch. I think Niall, I've never met Niall, but he looks quite tall and lean and fit and stuff. Yeah. And Luke, with his job, I would guess is not someone to mess with. So I'm probably one of the weaker ones in the pack. I don't know, but all the Sky ones look hard. I think. I don't know. What do you think? Any of the other ones you fancy?
Oh, I picked you so that I didn't need to answer.
I know you did, you bloody sot. Brilliant. Anyway, Colin Johnston, Brentford incoming, Kepa out, and Nketiah for Tony and Raya. Also, maybe me and Brighton assets. Thoughts? Yeah, we haven't really touched on Brighton. We mentioned Dunk a few times. McAllister looks. He looks. I know he's not returning the goals and assists, but he's definitely having a lot of shots. He's advanced his positioning. Brighton and Brentford's fixtures from now till the end of the season are, definitely until sort of the middle of April. They have a lot of fixtures, and they are both pretty good teams. So, who are you excited about from Brighton?
Dunk, Matoma, McAllister, probably the three that I'm interested in. I still don't think that I'll go into Brighton until the midweek after the international break. And you might look at that on pen and paper and think that there's a missed opportunity because you're not getting a fixture gain because they play on a Saturday and you're not moving on to the midweek. But you are essentially getting a fixture gain because that's not a brought forward game from a game that's missing later down the season. Like you'd mentioned, Brighton's got the most games to get rearranged from that point onwards. So I think that that's going to be my entry point. And it's more because there's nobody I want to get rid of, and there's a couple of other requirements I need to sort and daisy chain through. It looks like Newcastle's like I'll have that single game day. They play on the Sunday before it, so it feels like a transition through someone like Trippier would be beneficial there. On that Saturday that we're talking about, Sky Game Week 33, there's going to be a lot of games called off. I'm probably going to need a captain for that day, whether it's Enzo Fernandez, whether it's a returning Thiago Silva, whether it's it's not going to be Ollie Watkins. Although they're home at Bournemouth, it's like they've got the best fixture, like along with Chelsea that day. So I've just got too many things that I need to factor into my planning to consider Brighton at the moment. Doesn't feel like there's a good jump on point until that like if I've got an injury or something like that, and even because the budget might help in some ways, then I'll reconsider it on that basis.
I like the look of Estupinian. I haven't looked if he gets bonus or anything, but he's very attacking, and he gets. I think he scored a couple of weeks ago when he was wrongly disallowed, and then he got an assist in the same game. So he looks one as well.
He is injured, or like De Zerbi had a press conference today. I think.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
It came out that him and someone else was injured. I can't remember who it was. Solly March, maybe someone.
Paul at Sky Player and FPL. How is Paul managing to miss literally every area of bad luck or injuries this season? What sort of voodoo magic is this, and how do I get some?
I don't know. I think I'm usually on the like. I'm not super unlucky, and I'm not particularly lucky. The way that I play the game usually means that I can't get lucky because I don't do like left field captaincy picks or anything like that. But I have. It's the fact that I've missed owning. Like I don't own players that are highly owned that keep blanking or not returning big returns. I have been very fortunate on that basis. I think I've got a good plan, good strategy, and that helps me get achieve decent ranks in the past. But I do feel particularly fortunate on this run that I've been in from avoiding Salah, and I had Salah for one game to come out. And even then, I'm still happy then because I wouldn't have afforded Saka if I hadn't done that. And he's outscored him by like 15 points over that time period as well. So, I've been a bit lucky.
I am a firm believer, though. I am in that you make your own luck, and I think if you make enough right decisions, even if you don't get the right outcomes, you deserve some luck sometimes. So. And the fact that your previous history is what it is. I think you finished 30th last year, and maybe even 30th the previous season, or kind of wherever it is. You finished 4th in the past. It's not a fluke, right? You know how to get there. And then you just need that maybe that little bit of extra luck to keep you going. But you've had bad luck as well. So I'm a firm believer in all things that you make your own luck, and what will be based on a load of factors of luck being one. So. Good stuff. Darren Slater, who's in a very, very good position, says, with the April TV fixtures being very kind to players with less transfers, what's the best move for people with 20 plus? So a bit of a humble brag there. We've got to watch over our shoulder for Darren. He's got 20 plus transfers. Where are the advantages in April? Interesting.
First weekend, in my opinion. Come off Arsenal players on there. Like, so if you either have a lot of Arsenal players or are still want to pick up a lot of Arsenal players, the fixtures are great. Like we talked about this earlier on, the fixture run's great, but it majorly stiffens after that point, and there's teams that have an immediate 2-0 or 3-0 over Arsenal, but I'm not counting 3-0 because I wouldn't go back to Arsenal players from that point. So you get 2 extra games that game week, and it's just a great time for transitioning. Like I think Man United play on the Sunday then, so I imagine I won't have Bruno up until that point, but I'd like to add him to Rashford at that point. A few others. and there's going to be extra games lined up and get put into the end of the season. So again, teams that play on Saturday, moving off them to players from teams that play Sunday, Wednesday combinations. I don't know that I'd be happy to have the extra transfers and still think there's plenty of opportunities to gain over those that don't.
Yeah, excuse me. It's piling in on those ones, right? So in that period you're talking about there, so Sunday the 2nd of April till Saturday the 15th of April, for example, Man City play once and Arsenal play once. In that time, Man United play 4 times, Newcastle play 4 times, and this is where they're good teams to invest in. It's not like Wolves and Bournemouth, right? You can go in pretty heavily on potentially 3 or 4 United players, maybe 2 or 3 Newcastle players, and there's your gains, right? Because you can get back onto them. So it's not just always, I think, looking around, differentials like the captaincies. This is why we hold the transfers back, is to make waves in these periods when people have 1 or 2 United players. You could have 4. So every time United do well, you get the goal, you get the clean sheet, you're cleaning up every time, whereas others are just moving along and staying stagnant. And the same for Newcastle. So yeah, interesting stuff here. Go on.
See the moves with Ray and Tony. Like, we've highlighted that. I mentioned on last week's pod. That's not us highlighting something that's like most experienced Sky managers would have seen that, knowing that they've got the extra game coming up and it's on a Monday night, right? But if you're like, I think if you use that burn down of transfers linear across the season, the average is about 19 just now, 19 remaining, or maybe even less, 18, 19 remaining. I didn't do the count before it. So if you're on 20 and someone's on 15 and that's who you're chasing down, or chasing down averages, by the time you use Ray and Tony and potentially get Rashford back in, I know a lot of people's taking him out. So you use 3 transfers this weekend. That takes your 20 down to 17. So you're in line with averages. The 15's down to 12. Now that 12 starts feeling a bit uncomfortable. There's an upcoming captaincy for a Newcastle player. Yeah. A lot of people have moved off Newcastle. A lot of people on that game week 33 that I'm talking about won't have a captaincy for the Saturday. So there's another transfer that people will be using. Again, if you're lining up those transfers, even if you're doing them yourself, you're still in a much more comfortable position than someone that's dwindling down these what we're calling obvious moves and making like template moves and what's going to happen there. So I'm not I wouldn't be disheartened by the way that the April fixtures have fallen. If I had a lot of transfers, I wouldn't be thinking, "Oh, people are getting jail-free cards."
I think for captaincies they're fairly easy, but that's not where for me you can make the massive gains. It's on these where you can pile on for 3 for 0s and 4 for 1s and really make it. You can make up 30 points if your block defense cleans up in those. As well as having the best captain of the day. I mean, not just that. So yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that I think the vast majority of teams now have played between 23 and 24 matches. And everyone says, "Oh, there's 14, 14 or 15 matches left." Well, the transfer average is now between 14 and 15. So 1 transfer per week. I don't think that's a lot to do a lot of manoeuvring. It's enough for hygiene moves. It's enough to move to Tony and to move to Salah and then make the obvious move back. But other than that, you can't really make any pylon moves or any luxury moves. So I think there's massive opportunities still, and those 4 for 1s that I talked about will then flip as well, right? So that's what normally happens: is you get the 4 for 1 for one team, they then flip to the other. So Man City will run into a game of 5 fixtures to Brentford or Man United's 1 or 2, for example. We got that exact example here with Man City from the 17th of April. They go on a run of 4 games to other teams have only got 2, for example. So good stuff. FPL Commander, we're going to have to rattle through these questions, but we got millions of questions. KDB to Saka and Fulham's Tete to VVD on Wednesday. Worth it? What do you think of that?
I think Liverpool's been they've got an expected goals conceded of 4 over the last 3 games, so they've been incredibly lucky. I mean, Van Dijk starts on 5 points most games when he's not playing one of the bigger teams, at least. So I could see that working. I don't know what the person's team is like, but I don't know that I could fit in a expensive defender on who I'd want and what I've got coverage. The KDB to Saka move feels very
Yeah,
easy to me.
agree.
Yeah, but I'm not too sure on another one. But
I think I don't know. I just look at a future move. I'm not really interested in
I
Liverpool.
don't mind it. Liverpool play a lot of games and they'll play in that, and if they play in that game week 33 as well.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Julian Wardle, with third team still to activate, which would you say is the best of the next 3 months to have a go at Manager of the Month? Shout out to Ian Parrin, Planet Sky, for his transparent journey through February. If not for a bit of bad luck, he would have nailed it. Yeah, I think he was quite unlucky on the weekend, wasn't he? He was very close. But I think he might have even captained Silva and went kind of all in on Chelsea defence. If he'd gone the other way, he would have got through. But yeah, have you got any thoughts on that, Paul?
I've never attempted it.
I've never either.
And now it's become a thing. I can imagine more people attempting it now, so it's going to be even harder.
Yeah.
I don't know. April seems like there's going to be a
April's
lot of
a massive month. Yeah, it is.
Maybe May. I think if I was doing it, I don't have any information to back this up really, but I think that more people are likely to do it in April, and then people will forget about it again because it feels like a in vogue type thing to be attempting just now, and for that reason only, that doing it in May might be a better opportunity if people stop I've stopped thinking about it.
As it stands, lots teams have either got 6 or 7 fixtures in April and four in May. Only Everton and Leicester look like they have another one, but yeah, so it's more fixtures in April, less in May. But you are right; you can see a lot of people going for it in April. So if you think that's going to happen, maybe wait till May. Yeah, good stuff. Andrew Lee asks about VPNs. Paul, what's the best one? Which one do you use? Was it Tunnel Bear you used to use?
I've used Tunnel Bear and Ghost VPN. Whatever comes on top, whatever offers a free trial and comes on top of searches. But I don't think that. I don't know. I've not. I've got a little one at home, so I've not been abroad in a while. But I think that a lot of people were getting on now. If you just delete the app and use the browser,
yeah, it works on the browser. I think. Yeah,
people were getting in already, so you might not even need to bother setting up.
Cool. Dark Invader, 80 points ahead with about 10 transfers less on 18. Should I be scared with the right move? Should be able to stay first till the end of the season. I think 18 less is all right.
18 left.
I think so.
10 left. I'm averaging 11 points a transfer just now, so 110 points if you're doing the quick maths could be made up. Feels around about eeksy peeksy in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so as well. I just scanning through the questions just to see if there's anything obvious we haven't covered. Best game plan for Polinia of Sam Smith.
It really depends on what budget that you've got sitting there. I would hold and do 2 moves if budget's going to be a problem. Because there's nobody really around that mark that I like, although Matoma's only 7.1 and more so McAllister 7.4, Saliba 7.4. If you could get to either of those two, don't already have them, I would go directly to them. If not, I would wait until your next move that's freeing up budget somewhere, perhaps Ederson to Rhea moves, freeing up budget, and then upgrading Polinia with extra money.
SkyFF Newbie asks an interesting question. Do you think that teams are becoming a bit template with so many of the big teams underperforming and very consistent enablers? It feels to me when you look at other teams, 8 or 9 players seem to be the same. I kind of think yes, but then I think that's just a symptom of players just getting better at the game, and I kind of welcome it almost because it just means that there's hyper engagement within the game now. There's a lot of really good managers, a lot know what they're doing. The fact that I can barely move rank, even when I think I have a good week, is testament to the fact that that the game is being played to at a very good level. And I suppose as long as you've got as long as you feel you've got a couple of excess transfers over your rivals, you just got to hope that you can use them wisely to make the difference. I don't think it's. I wouldn't say it's template though. Personally, I still think there's quite a wide variety. Like obviously Rashford, Haaland, Kane, Saliba. But other than that, I'm not sure it's that template.
There's a lot of good content out there as well now. Like it's not just the podcasts that we do and Planet FPL does, and the Golden Goal podcast. I know Scout doesn't do it anymore, but you've got like decent, like really good Twitter threads as well from Bobby and Ben, popular guys putting decent threads out as well. But I think it's all about like noticing like that there is edges. There's probably less edge now than what there was, certainly. But it's all about finding what your edge is. I've mentioned various times before, an hour before kickoff, that's my time. And if I need to remap something and rethink of something, like the Martinelli thing didn't come to me until I don't think I'm a genius for going for Martinelli, by the way. Just more, it's like good when you do the research and you put something forward when not a lot of other people would do it. But I got McAllister really early season. Nobody was mentioning him on any pods, or we weren't talking about him on the pods. Yeah. I didn't see any content about him at the time, and it was one of those ones that went a bit under the radar and got on him early. And it's about getting on things early. The City Arsenal thing. So again, we'd highlighted City volume fixtures. This is the fixture to do it. City were playing dreadful at the time, and then backed out and didn't do it. Arsenal identified it again. Right, okay, Arsenal are playing well. This is a good opportunity to go in on Arsenal. And it's just things like that. Like you could talk about as much as one, but there is definitely edge to find. And if you think that things are getting a bit template, then there is stuff out like on the outskirts of that. Like the Rodri thing. Like Rodri's a template player now. And some people won't come off him, and rightly so. And then some people will because they got extra transfers and they see opportunity to daisy chain through and make a plan that way. So,
I think there's an edge as well. Like one thing I think I've done well this season is to try and hunt out that extra game, which may not be immediately obvious when making a transfer. So like a 6 for 4. So for example, I went in quite early on Chelsea defence. I went in probably, well, you could even argue a bit too early, right? On Thiago Silva and Kepa, because I could see that they had these two. It was like a 5 for 2, I think it was, over whoever it was, Man City or whoever. And even though Chelsea weren't playing that well, I kind of backed them to keep a couple of clean sheets still, and they didn't get their clean sheets until the final 2 games. And if you remember, Chelsea beat Fulham 1-0 on a Friday night. And I'd held on to him, knowing that extra game was a benefit.
It was 0-0.
0-0, sorry, yeah.
Same outcome for you.
Yeah, but I captained Silva and I had Kepa, for example, where a lot of people either skipped that game or maybe only had one asset. So I do think trying to eke that extra fixture at the end of a chain can be another... another advantage, that when you do see it through and you don't take the players out early, like you can be tempted. I was tempted to take out Kepa, right, because Chelsea were bloody awful. But if you see them through, you do get that extra game, and you sometimes get those rewards as well. Couple of questions Paul had in his DMs as well to finish off with. He says, do you miss the man of the match bonus in Sky, and what do you think of bonus in general?
Like a dirty topic, isn't it? Like lots of people I've spoke to for years on Sky wish it back. I don't know that I, sitting in 5th place on the first season of them removing it, could say that it's benefited. It was a good talking point. I'm pretty kind of ambivalent to be honest. I don't. I'm fine with it not being there. What's your thoughts?
I love it not being there. I just think it takes away any ambiguity, and the reason I've loved Telegraph over the years is because there's exactly that. There's no subjectivity with anything. It kind of is, it is what it is. And I think Sky, I don't trust them enough to make the right call, and it's very subjective, and it can have massive swings in the overall ranks in the leagues. But now you know that your live rank at any point is your live rank, and it's not going to change unless they add an odd pass or a pass or two here or there, which is still statistically based, right? Whereas just I think Neville gave a random man of the match to 2 players last year. When you see it when there's a new signing or it's someone's birthday or they're massive swing, and they used to be 5 points, right? So captain, that was 10 points, and if you think how that could impact a season. If you had 4 or 5 of them go either for you or against you, so I'm really enjoying Sky this year because it's not in.
On that subject as well, I think it makes it easy. I think I'm good at not the FOMO thing. I think that Salah's got a big ceiling on Wednesday, so it's slightly different from there being a standout player on a single captaincy day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking where I'm going. So the Fulham Wolves game on Friday night. Like if you add in captaincy, then you can start getting player hauls a bit more like Sarabia's. That now a 13-pointer doubled up to 26. It adds extra weight to that. Whereas I think I can avoid a game like
exactly.
that, easily, and not get FOMO and not have to have a player. And I do like it. I do like it for that perspective.
Really good point. What form of fantasy football do you like the most? Sky, Dream Team, FPL, and why?
Probably FPL bottom out of everything, I think. And not but everyone plays it, so it's like colleagues and friends and family and all the guys in the bowling club that play poker on a Monday night, all play FPL. So I'd have it last though. Sky, and then Sky, Telegraph, Dream Team, FPL. Maybe Dream Team and Telegraph change positions. I like the fact that cup competitions count just because it gives me an interest in Europe and stuff like that and Dream Team, but probably Sky, Telegraph, Dream Team, FPL. What about you?
A couple of seasons ago, the Telegraph was far and away my favourite game, but since they've moved the key contributions, though they have added tackle bonus and keeper bonus, which is brilliant, but now they've taken the man of the match off Sky. I think Sky is now my favourite all-round game. I think you're just completely in control of your team. The Telegraph is very hard to make gains in Telegraph because there's no captaincy. You can just kind of float it along. I do like Dream Team, though when you're not, it's very hard to change your fortunes in Dream Team. I find it's a massive momentum game. Dream Team, you're either flying or you're doing bloody awful. And there's no in between. And FPL is what it is. It's just the main thing with FPL I don't like is you have well, in my view anyway, you just have very little influence over your team, and you have none. There's games at times happen 2 weeks after the deadline that you just can't influence. So what's the point?
Yeah.
I think we have to leave it there, Paul. We've gone hour and 10. I know you want to shoot off as well, I'm guessing soon for your poker evening. Thank you so much to everyone who has stayed with us for this marathon episode. Oh, I forgot the leagues. Quick rundown of the leagues. Apologies. The Four Nations leagues. Let's just have a look. Liam Dorian, 6th. Dan Cox, 5th on 2038. Ian Parrin, 4th on 2063. I'm 3rd, 2100. Oh, this is last week. I haven't even updated the leagues. I haven't even updated the Four Nations League. We'll have to scrap that one. What a nightmare. Anyway, this is an up-to-date... we had a request for an up-to-date FFH Members League, and 10th place, Sam Smith. 9th place, Augustus Pates or Pates. He was also in 8th as well. 7th place, Jake Parlett. Dean Hicks is in 6th. I'm in 5th. It wasn't me who requested to put it in, so but I'm in 5th. Paul, I noticed you're ignoring this, which is amazing. 4th is Dale Pointer. 3rd is Barry Grimes. 2nd is David Baxter, 2202. And then Billy Anderson is...
There's no cash prize for it.
210. There is a cash prize.
If you win it, you're donating it though, right?
£500 pot. I think it's 300 for first, maybe. So, yeah.
You're donating it if you win, though. You can, as an employee.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's just a quick update. I will. Apologies for the Four Nations League. I will update that. Thank you so much, as I say, for everyone for watching and listening. It's much appreciated. Thank you, Paul. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty, McAnulty.
And my Twitter handle is at FFH_Fergi. If you like what you watched, please press the like button please do. And remember to subscribe in the bottom right corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. We also recorded Nip and a Half podcast. If you do want to listen to that, it's Paul and I having a general 10-minute chat around everything fantasy. I gained a few points back this week. Spoiler alert on that one, which is nice. And we both made fantasy boo-boos, which Paul's cost him a bit more, which is quite rare, I would say. I don't make many, maybe one every 2 seasons or so. And Paul never makes a boo-boo. We'll be back next week, looking ahead to Sky Game Week 32. Have a great Sky Game Week 31, and goodbye for now.